My name is Byron.
And I'm Steve.
And together, we're Card Sessions. Today, we're talking about the Ellusionist Knights in gold. Let's jump into it. So I picked these cards up about a week ago. I got two decks and I'm pleasantly surprised with how these have done. Now this is going to be our first review, so we're going to set a few boundaries to begin with.
Ooh, yeah.
We want to make sure that our reviews are comprehensive and they're not just done on the spot. It's one of the things that I'm fond of with good playing card reviewers, is making sure they actually give them some time before they do a review. So I've used these non-stop for the last week and I'm really impressed. So we're going to go by a few rules. First and foremost, we're going to discuss the description, the stock of the playing cards, the finish, and the cut. And we've touched on all of those things in our previous video, so make sure you go and jump on and take a look at that first. In addition to that, we're going to discuss the longevity, how well these cards hold up to time. And we'll jump into that briefly. We're also going to talk about any special features they have. And that's an important one because some decks will have extras and some decks won't. And in addition to that, we're going to rate these cards overall as a function of their usability. So let's jump into this review. Alright, so let's discuss a look at this deck. This is a pretty wicked looking tuck box. It's like a matte white paper finish and it has gold foil accents. The box itself is pretty plain. There's actually not a lot to it. The sides are totally empty. The top is also empty. But the bottom has the Ellusionist details on the bottom, nothing special there. The front obviously has the Knights logo with Madison and Ramsey, the two designers of the deck. And the back kind of gives a little bit of a hint to what is on the back of the deck, which is chess pieces, but it doesn't really give too much away. I actually really like this box. I think it's really simple, and I'm a big fan of that. It gets really exciting when you open this up though, because on the inside, it is gold foil the whole way. This thing is off its chop. So on the inside of the tuck here, you can see there's a little bit of gold foil accent here, and then on the inside, it's like a chessboard the whole way through. It's pretty wicked. So let's jump into the cards. The box scores highly. We'll jump into the ad cards first. So in this deck, it's interesting. You don't actually get an ad card, which I quite like. Ellusionist is pretty fond of them, and in this instance you don't get one, which I'm particularly happy with. You get these two ad cards which represent Madison and Ramsey themselves. Steve's going to jump into a little bit of detail with these later. And then you get the Jokers, which appear to be identical. And they're again a chess piece with a crow on top. I love that these are identical. I'm a huge fan of identical Jokers. There's a bazillion tricks you can do with them. So getting two Jokers that are identical is spot on. It doesn't happen too often in these kinds of decks. So let's jump into the back design. This back design is wicked. It has no actual borders, although there is a thin white line around the edge, which essentially is a border. I just like that there's no solid lines on this. It plays a really unique place in my playing card collection. In addition to this, I like that there's no solidness to it at all. It's essentially completely hollow, just with chess pieces in it. And each of these cards looks incredible in a spread or when you fan them. And I've been using these for about a week now, so they're not holding up perfectly, but they're looking pretty good for a week's worth of use in my hands. Overall, pretty happy with it. I really love the design of this. The faces are pretty much standard. There's not a hell of a lot changed, but they do have custom Ellusionist faces on some of the cards. This one here doesn't. You can see this is what the red cards look like in this deck. They're gold pips with a black border on them, which is pretty cool looking, pretty unique. And they've actually used that metallic gold finish to them as well, which I really like. So let's jump in and take a look at some of the custom faces. Here's the Jack of Clubs. Here's the King of Hearts. King of Spades. we'll jump in and take a look at the ace of spades, because that's the one everyone wants to see. This is an awesome looking ace. I think Ellusionist did a really good job with this. And it's a very well put together looking deck. Right, so let's take a quick look at the overall handling of this deck. And we'll start out with the stock. This deck is incredible. It is crushed and it is thin as all hell. I'm accustomed nowadays to picking up Ellusionist decks and thinking that they're just a little bit overdone. Ellusionist in their past used to make relatively thick decks of cards, and I used to love thick decks of cards. I've tended to move away from that in more recent years as crushed decks have become more popular. And this deck is spot on. It is exactly what you want out of the deck out of the box. Immediately, it works really well. And it feels just right in your hands. It's not too thick, it's not too thin, it's spot on. And the cards are really, really well held together. As for the finish, it is a standard cambric style finish, nothing particularly special, but it does hold up really well to time. And we're going to touch on that in a minute. As for the cut, I was probably most surprised about this deck, that it is in fact traditionally cut. That was really surprising to me, because you don't often see many Ellusionist decks that have a traditional cut to them. And usually if you do, it's an all-over back design style setup. So I was pretty impressed that they went their way and got a traditional cut on this deck. And both of the decks that I got were traditional cuts, so it wasn't just a fluke, I don't think. But yeah, that touches on the basics of the deck. Let's take a quick look into the longevity. Alright, so as I've touched on already, I've had these cards now for about a week. It's pretty rare that I can get my hands on a deck of cards from one of the big producers that will last me any longer than about 3 or 4 days before it starts to get a little clunky. This deck has stood the test of time. I'm pretty impressed with what Ellusionist has been able to do here. I'm not sure exactly what it is that they've done, but usually at this point, a deck just simply will barely fan for me. And this still looks more than good enough. This is holding up really well. And I've kind of tortured this deck a little bit. Considering how thin the stock is, I'm really genuinely impressed. This is a really nice, really well held together deck of cards, and I think Ellusionist has done a fantastic job. In this deck, there's a couple little hidden secrets, and I'm going to chuck it over to Steve so he can run you through them now.
Alright guys, so I first had a look at these cards probably about an hour ago. Byron brought them to me, and I have to say, they look wicked. And there's some super cool reveals as well, which I'll show you right now. The first one on this ad card, you can get that to focus. See at the top there, you've got the 9, and just in the artwork of the horse, you have the clubs. So you've got a 9 of clubs reveal there, and on the second one, you've got focus, the 4 of spades. So that's pretty cool, 2 reveals. Which is pretty awesome for the ad cards there. Now, another one as well is actually on the box itself. So just on the front of the card flap, I'll show you there, you've got the 9 of spades. So one thing about these cards, which you guys may not know, which is super cool, is it's actually completely marked on the back. For the number at least that we've seen. And I'm going to get Byron to run through how to spot that. But guys, to get a deck of cards, we've got a whole bunch of super cool reveals, 2 jokers that are identical. So far the tricks are just rattling in my mind of what I can do. Just to open a sealed deck of cards and jump into some strong magic is killer for me. So Byron's going to run through how to spot that marking.
Alright, so I didn't actually look into this deck before I bought it. I was walking through a shopping centre and there was a shop that had a few and I bought them. So I had no idea that these were actually marked when I bought them. I'd known Ellusionist had released them, but I'd never actually bothered to buy them. And as you do, I did the riffle test and I could see that they were marked. Surprisingly though, this is a system that doesn't use a clear marking system. It's unique to this deck. You couldn't really use it in anything else. It uses the value of chess pieces to tell you the value of the card. And this deck may very well be marked for suit. I just haven't picked up on it yet if it is. But I want to be clear that this marking system is surprisingly easy to learn. If you understand the value of chess pieces, you can very quickly put 2 and 2 together and figure out values. I think I probably spent maybe 15 minutes trying to figure it out and it was done. Overall, really impressed with this marking system, and unlike a lot of really confusing marking systems that you need to go and read a manual to figure out, this one I think Ellusionist did yet again a really good job with, and I'm quite genuinely surprised with this. So I'm going to give you a quick little look at the system, but we're not going to run you through the tutorial on how it works in this video. I'm sure there's other videos on YouTube you can go and watch to figure that out if you need to. Not that I think you probably do. But just to give you a quick look at this marking system, if you watch the cards, you'll be able to see the changing pips in the top right hand corner there of the card. Interestingly enough, they actually did the marking on the opposite side to where you would normally see it. I'm not so sure as to why they did that, but when you spread the cards out, it does make it still relatively easy to see the markings in the bottom left. Overall, I think Ellusionist did a really good job. Let's jump into the rating. I have to admit, these cards took me by surprise, and I think Ellusionist did a really good job, generally speaking, with this deck. Not to say that I've had bad experiences with Ellusionist decks, I love them, and I've got quite a few of them. But typically they're on the thicker side, typically they don't last quite this long, and usually they don't feel this good out of the box. The one thing that really took me by surprise here was the fact that these cards are marked, and they're still under $10 US. And to me, that's really impressive. I think Ellusionist has done a really good job here in putting all of this together. In particular, the fact that the deck looks $1 million. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give these a 7 out of 10. I think Ellusionist has done a fantastic job, and I've really got nothing terrible to say about it. How do you fare?
Cool. Well, I've only been playing around with the cards really for a few hours, but I have to say, again, I'm super impressed with these cards. A big thing for me is just being able to open up a sealed deck and just jump into some solid magic straight away, and you can do that with this deck. You've got multiple reveals, you've got a marking system on the back. I think that's a solid 7 out of 10. I'd have to agree with you, 100%. Yeah. The cards are fantastic. Ellusion have just done another awesome job with these cards, and I'm going to be picking some up myself. And we're going to leave some links in the description of where you can pick these up. And yeah, super impressed, guys. Jump on these cards.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you leave a comment, you like and you subscribe us, and let us know what you want us to review next time. We're always happy to do more and to jump into reviews. Until next time, see you later.
Peace.